Williams, former D.C. homicide detective and Fox News contributor, and Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS deputy assistant secretary. Thank you both, Ted and Jonathan, for being here. I want to start with you, Ted, just given your experience, because there is this video that is circulating on X and gaining a lot of attention. It shows this woman standing up, fully engulfed in flames, as officers walk by on their radios and don't do anything to intervene and put out the flames. The video cuts off at the 1 minute mark, but it is pretty disturbing. So what is the protocol, Ted, for responding to an incident like this as a police officer? Should those cops have taken off their jackets and tried to smother the fire? I mean, what is the protocol?
Well, the protocol when you arrive on the scene of an unfortunate incident is to do any and everything you possibly can to save the victim's life or to help the victim. I'm sure that there are going to be an investigation to try to determine if law enforcement and other individuals, first responders, when they arrived on that scene, if they did everything possible to help that victim.
You know, Jonathan, I want to get to you because given what Ted said, I mean, obviously conditions are tougher than ever for police to do their jobs, and they have very tough jobs. So this gets to the issue of prevention. And ICE put out a report last week. It showed about a third of people who were removed from the country had criminal histories. I want to pull this up on your screen. More than 16,000 in fiscal year 24 with sexual assaults and sex offenses, 2,600 homicides, nearly 2,500 kidnappings, and 237 known or suspected terrorists. This suspect, Jonathan, received a transit summons in May of 2023. Is that at all an indicator that law enforcement should be paying attention to, that he could have been a danger to society? I mean, is that something that people should track more closely?
Well, one thing they should have been able to find out when they issued the transit summons that he had been deported before, which means by coming back in, he was in violation of federal law, specifically Title 8, United States Code 1326, which is a felony. So he should have been arrested once they found him. They should have run his record and done that. But of course, as Director Homan was talking about earlier, they're a sanctuary city, and that's the problem here. I mean, this is a horrible incident, and the person that did it should be held responsible. But we should certainly look at the public policy surrounding this as to what could have been prevented. And if New York City and this administration, if this administration didn't have its open borders policy and New York didn't have its sanctuary cities policy, there would have been less of a draw for this person to come in, and they could have also deported him, arrested him when he was caught by New York City Transit. So they are policies that could have been implemented and that will be implemented so things like this won't happen, or they'll be less likely to happen. And just on Ted's point, I think it's unfortunate that people didn't help. I don't know what they should have done, but I am concerned about this Daniel Penny effect, the Ferguson effect is what it's been called before, that deters people from trying to help other people because they're afraid of consequences from being involved. I don't know if that was at play here, but it's certainly something that should be talked about. Yeah,
I mean, cops getting prosecuted for doing their jobs, obviously a big fear and an issue with retaining officers. But, you know, to your point about sanctuary cities, I mean, this incident and so many others begs the question of if it's high time to get rid of them. The New York Times did a deep dive on some of the services that New York City is providing. Talked to a mother of 4 who fled Colombia, and she said that she felt spoiled by the taxpayer services. This is the quote. They were getting free laundry service, their clothes sometimes returned folded to their room, as well as housekeeping. Uncomfortable, Ms. Hanau would sometimes deter maids from cleaning the room. We're getting spoiled, Ms. Hanau said. This was never my idea. I didn't leave my country under the conditions we fled for this. Ted, don't these sanctuary city policies make cities like New York really a magnet for criminals? And is there anything that, you know, the incoming administration or Congress can do to disincentivize these cities from retaining these policies?
Well, you know, what we have to look at, Jackie, is that there are a lot of people who come to this country and they come for a better life and they are not criminals. But then we do have individuals who come to this country who are in fact criminals and who are also mentally ill. And when you look at that and the fact that they cannot find home housing, they're also homeless. And so when you look at the fact that you've got mentally ill individuals coming into this country who are homeless, that's a very dangerous concoction. And as a result of that, all of those things need to be looked at.
Yeah. Well, it is a sprawling problem, and we could talk forever about the other issues of homelessness and mental illness and the subway system. I mean, this horrific story just has so many things that need to be discussed.